Today, Rosh Chodesh Av, actually last night, begins the Avelis of the 9 days. We started already somewhat Avelis on Shavas B'Tamas to 3 weeks. But now, Mishenichnas Av Mematim B'Simcha, it's actually another step up in Avelis. And the Avelis in the 9 days include not doing laundry. That's Medina, the Mishnah. The Mishnah doesn't say from Rosh Chodesh, but that's already the Makor of not doing laundry is already in the Mishnah. These in the 9 days not to eat Basa v'yayin. Basa v'yayin in the Mishnah is only Erev Tisha B'Av after Chatzos. We're noyig from Rosh Chodesh, and then also in the 9 days, the Ramah brings about one should not take showers. Now, even the Svardim, which the Machaber goes with Shavua Shachal Boy, and hopefully Be'ez Hashem next week we'll speak about if there is a Shavua Shachal Boy this year. But even the Svardim that go with Shavua Shachal Boy, the Machaber brings Yesh Noyigim from Rosh Chodesh. So the concept of the Avela starting from Rosh Chodesh, another step, is already even Lafida Svardim as well. But it's Lafida Ramah, the Ashkenazim, that we don't wash our clothing. These are Isser Basa V'Yayin. We're knowing not to eat Basa V'Yayin. We don't take showers. The Shaila, however, is since today's Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh, the Shulchan Aruch and Hilchos Rosh Chodesh says, Siman Taf Yotes, mitzvah laharbais besudas Rosh Chodesh. There's a mitzvah to be marba besudas Rosh Chodesh. They bring that the Stipler used to make a l'chaim every Rosh Chodesh, and when Adar came, he used to drink a little more. Mishnechas Adar Marba B'Simcha. But he's a din. The Shulchan Aruch says mitzvah laharbas b'sudas Rosh Chodesh. So the shaila is, since today is somewhat of a Yom Tiv, today is a Yom Tiv, so b'negeya the Isser Basa V'Yayin, l'chayr we should only start a day later, which for this year would be actually Sunday, 2 days later, because tomorrow Shabbos we eat Basa V'Yayin, just like we eat Basa V'Yayin by a Sudas mitzvah, Suda of a bris, Pidyon Aben, a Siyam, these Basa V'Yayin. So to Rosh Chodesh, since Rosh Chodesh Noigel Harbas Besuda, it's a Sudas mitzvah, so why is there an Isser of Basa V'Yayin?
If you noig every Rosh Chodesh with Basa V'Yayin, can be clear, but if the person is not mocked with every Rosh Chodesh.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. That the shaila that we're discussing is l'chayr for somebody that's noig every Rosh Chodesh. Just like we'll see that people that Lagabi Rechitza Friday, those that are noig every Rosh Chodesh, l'chayra, those are noig every Rosh Chodesh. And it's interesting, there's a discussion in the Paiskim, Lagabi even Malav Malka, somebody that eats every week Malav Malka fleishiks. It's also a nidun if Malav Malka to eat fleishiks as well. So the shaila is Lagabi Rosh Chodesh. Why is this different than other sudas mitzvah, bris? I've heard people speak about it that if somebody usually would make a milchig bris and only it's in the 9 days a fleishig bris, good. So the shaila is today Rosh Chodesh. There should be the Isser of Basa V'Yayin should only start a day later. So the Seder Ayoim, which is the one who is Mechaber, the one who composed the Moida Ani that we say in the morning, the Magen Avram brings in at Semen Aleph. These are between the time of the Rishonim and Achronim. The Seder Ayoim brings, based on what it's brought in Megillas Tainus, which is brought La'alach and Hilchas Tainus, that there are those that are noyik to fast on Rosh Chodesh Av, which means even though you're not supposed to fast on Rosh Chodesh, there are those that fast. The Shulchan Aruch brings it. This Rosh Chodesh Nisan, also other certain yards of Mises Tzadikim. Since Aaron HaKohen was nifter today, Rosh Chodesh Av, the Makor for that is this week's Parshas Masai. The pasuk says, "Vayal Aaron HaKohen b'Chodesh HaChamishi be'echad laChodesh," the 5th month, the first day in the Chodesh, which is Rosh Chodesh Av. Memela, since Aaron HaKohen was nifter and B'tziruf, like we see that it's a Yom Evel that some are noyik to fast, so B'tziruf to that, Memela, with these Isser of Basa V'Yayin, even though it's Rosh Chodesh. So we want to know why there's the Issa Basa V'Yayin on Rosh Chodesh. The teretz is, this particular Rosh Chodesh is a little different. And therefore, even somebody who eats every Rosh Chodesh Basa V'Yayin, l'chayr would come out, still it's Aser, because of that. But Sirif, the Avelis of the 9 days, there's also the Isser of, there's also the Avelis of Mises Sadikim of Aaron HaKoyin. In Meiser Keach actually adds even a bit more and says that if you look in the Torah, the only yahrzeit mentioned in the Torah is the yahrzeit of Aaron HaKoyin. We know other yahrzeits. Moshe Rabbeinu is Zion, other yahrzeits as well. The only yahrzeit mentioned mafurish in the Torah is the Misa of Aaron HaKoyin, the yahrzeit of Aaron HaKoyin. And he explains the reason is to be meramis. The Torah is meramis la'asid is going to be a churban bias. So we're going to start Avelis already from Rosh Chodesh. Godol Misa Satikim. The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah Daf Yud Ches Kesreifas Beis Elokeinu. So therefore, the yahrzeit of Aaron HaKoyin, as we mentioned before, adds into the Avelis. So therefore, even though it's Rosh Chodesh, we're still noyig be'isser basa v'yayin. There's another hezber that could be explained why Rosh Chodesh Av, even though it's Rosh Chodesh, why we're noyig Avelis like the other 9 days. I'll see what we mentioned briefly in the previous year. The Gemara says in Tainus, on the Mishnah, that says that what happened Shavasa B'Tammuz, Hufka Ir, one of the 5 things is that they broke through the wall. So the Gemara says, Hufka Ir b'Shavasa B'Tammuz. Frek, the Gemara didn't happen b'Shavasa B'Tammuz, it happened b'Tes B'Tammuz. The Gemara brings a pasuk. Did it happen b'Tes B'Tammuz? So the Gemara says, Loi Kashya kam b'Bayis Rishon kam b'Bayis Sheni. Bayis Rishon, the Hufka Ir happened b'Tes Tammuz. Bayis Sheni, the Churban, they broke through the walls b'Shavasa B'Tammuz. So there's a difference between Bayis Rishon and Bayis Sheni. The Yerushalmi, Tainus Perek Daled Halacha Hey, when the Yerushalmi goes with this Shita, because we mentioned the Yerushalmi actually says that Bayis Rishon Visheni happened, the Hufkair happened, B'Shavasa B'Tammuz. But the Yerushalmi goes based on what the Bavli says, that when did they break through the walls, the Bayis Rishon? B'Tes Tammuz. He says, based on the pasuk which we read in last week's Haftarah, Makol Shoked and Iroya. So Rashi brings it over the Apida Medrash, that just like this Makol is different than other plants. It grows so fast. It takes 21 days from when it starts growing till the flowers come out. Just like Ma Makol Zeh takes 21 days, Af from breaking through the walls in Yerushalayim till the Churban Abayis is 21 days. That's what the pasuk and the Medrash explains what we're bringing this Makol Shoked. Says the Yeshalmi, Amor de Gechidish. Side Bayis Rishon and Side Bayis Sheni was 21 days. Bayis Sheni, that they broke through the wall Shavasa B'Tammuz, the Churban Abayis was Tisha B'Av. Bayis Rishon, that they broke through the walls on Tes Tammuz, the Churban Abayis was Tisha B'Av. Was Rosh Chodesh, Shkoyach. The Yishalmi, the Lashon Kach meyoim shehufka ha'ir va'ad yoim shecharav abayis esrim ve'echad yoim man da amar betisha l'chodesh be'echad ba'av charav abayis. So it's an unbelievable chiddush. The Yishalmi says that the Churban Bayis Rishon happened 21 days after Hufka Ir, which comes out, which is, the Yishalmi says, is Rosh Chodesh Av. So this l'chayr would be another explanation why when we start Avelis from Rosh Chodesh, even though Rosh Chodesh is Noeg and Laharba is Besuda, but since Rosh Chodesh Bayis Rishon, the Churban happened today, so therefore the Avelis starts already today.
Well, we say Kilas today too.
Yitzi, that's a good shaila. Why don't we say somewhat of a kinus today?
If you're talking about Bayis Rishon, they should do Kilas the whole...
Good shaila. Why don't we noyig more than just the 9 days of Avelis? First of all, it could be with Pascal like the... I'm sorry, that's Yisham. I don't know if the Babli argues. But, so not a first of all and second of all. The reason l'chayre is because the Mishnah, which really that's the Shaila, the Mishnah says clearly, the Mishnah says that Churban Bayis Rishon V'Sheni happened Tisha B'Av.
So what's the somebody coming out and saying that before you go?
I don't know. It's a Shaila on the Yishalmi. The Yishalmi says Churban Bayis Rishon happened Rosh Chodesh. If you take a look, the Mishnah says clearly in Tainus that it happened Tisha B'Av. Also, it could be it's not an answer on the Tainus on the saying Kinus, but we mentioned in last year that the reason why we don't fast if Hufka Ir Shavasa Batamas happened Test Tamas, why don't we fast both days? Or the first, you can't do both, and which one is more? The second one is more chomer because we're still in that gala. So l'chayr for Tisha B'Av would be the same thing also, but it's not an answer on Kinus. Technically, we should say Kinus on both days. If today was Churban Bayis Rishon, but the Mishnah says Lamaisa clearly Churban Bayis Rishon was also Tisha B'Av.
You also said last time that there was a calendar issue. So like Tess was really a sign that they were off by a week over there. So.
Very good. That's the Shitas HaYushalmi that holds that even Churban Bayis Rishon, even the Hufka Ir of Shavasa Batamas actually happened Shavasa Batamas. The Pasuk says Tess, says the Yishalmi. Tosa brings it over there that they lost track. And we explained the Mashah how they lost track because they tuned into the calendar that goes with the sun, so they fell behind. But technically it was really Shavasa Batamas, both. But this Yushalmi is going with the Shita that the first Churban Bayis, the first Hufka Ir was not Shavasa Batamas, but Tes Tamas, and 21 days later was the Churban. So it comes out, the Tisha B'Av, the Churban Bayis Rishon happened today, Rosh Chodesh. So l'chayr, that would be an explanation why the Avela starts full force today, even though it's Rosh Chodesh. What's about Rechitza? As we saw, there's the Isser Rechitza, and as the Ramah says, the Isser Rechitza is the whole 9 days, including Erev Shabbos Chazoin. It's a discussion for itself, Lamaisa, what the minig is, but the Ramah says the whole 9 days, including Erev Shabbos Chazoin. What's about this Shabbos? This Shabbos is in the 9 days, but it's not Erev Shabbos Chazoin. Could one take this afternoon a regular shower? So there's a machlokes haposkim. The Bach says, even though the Chachmei Beginsa were noyig to not do or noyig to be memayit, he says no, you're supposed to take a regular full shower. And he explains the whole reason why we don't take Erev Shabbos Chazoin, even though technically it's Kavod Shabbos. So for Kavod Shabbos, really, we should be able to take even Erev Shabbos Chazoin. But since sometimes Erev Shabbos Chazoin falls out to be Erev Tisha B'Av, like this year, and if you're going to take a shower Erev Shabbos Chazoin of Erev Tisha B'Av, it's already Erev Tisha B'Av after Chatzos. So Memela, they said, don't be roichitz on Erev Shabbos Chazoin. That's what the Ramah says. B'chlal, don't be roichitz on Erev Shabbos Chazoin. Atu Erev Shabbos Chazoin, that's Erev Tisha B'Av like this year. Again, we'll Be'ez Hashem speak about next week Friday, Friday's showers. But first, about this week, says the Bach, that's all on Shabbos Chazoin. Since this week is not Shabbos Chazoin, you can take a regular shower like you always take. Ubefrat, someone who takes every single week, could take. And Zok the Bach, the Lashon HaBach, I quote, V'nimna ata, somebody who does not take a shower, oven yesh b'yadai. Not only you just didn't take a shower, it's actually an Aveira. Which l'cha'oira, the pshat is on a regular week, if you don't take a shower, you're supposed to take a shower for Kavod Shabbos. If you didn't take, so you weren't know your Kavod Shabbos. But over here, by not taking, you actually, not only not taking, you're doing it medilni avela, so it goes and includes already into you being mavaza, so to speak, mezalzel and Kavod Shabbos. The Mishnah Brura brings the Bach lahalacha. Sifkat and Peites, here in the Siman Tafkuf Nun Aleph, which speaks about all the 9 days halachas. Rosh Chodesh v'mchal Rosh Chodesh be'erev Shabbos, as I mutter lirchetz af kol gufay b'chamen, regular full shower, ha'order, kol mi sheroichetz tamid be'erev Shabbos ha'kavod Shabbos. You could take a regular shower.
Next week.
What'd you say?
Next week.
We're talking about this week. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. Next week, which is Erev Shabbos Chazoin, that the Ramah says that you don't take a shower all of the 9 days, including, it's a Chodesh, including Erev Shabbos Chazoin. That's what the Ramah says. That maybe we'll go into a little more next week, Erev Shabbos Chazoin. But this week, it's not Erev Shabbos Chazoin. Says the Bach, B'chahai Gavna, we don't answer showers. And as we explained, the whole list of Shabbos Chazoin is up to a year like this year where you're going to take a shower Friday afternoon, which is already Erev Tisha B'Av after Chatzos.
But you know what though, I have a problem with that though, because then why are you eating meat and drinking wine next Shabbos? It's Tisha B'Av, it's also Shabbos. So, see, you can't have two ways. I mean, if you're going to do regular Shabbos,
it's a good shaila what to define. We're also hopefully going to speak about it next week. If next week is Shavuot Shechalba, if next week Shabbos is Tisha B'Av, what not about learning Shabbos afternoon. Hopefully we'll get into it at least somewhat. But the shaila is a good shaila. What goes into the dinim that Shabbos pushes away Avelis, what doesn't go into the dinim, which you're pointing out over here, Erev Shabbos, was it different than on Shabbos? They eat Basav Yayin. It's rechitza, so to speak, rechitza shal mitzvah. We're going to get to it, hopefully, Be'ez Hashem.
Have your pre-Shabbos chillin' and your Ditma man. I understand that part, but like
we're going to get to time out this week as well. Also,
in the day of taking a shower today, you wouldn't be allowed to take 2 showers in Chodesh Shabbos.
What do you mean 2 showers?
Let's say a person says today you're allowed to take showers, so I like taking 2 showers a day. I'm going to take 2 showers out of Shabbos because it's.
The het is not kivin shehutras. You're allowed to take showers. The pshat is you take a shower to cover Shabbos. I don't know if a person's allowed to take a shower. Somebody is allowed to sit now in the jacuzzi. The pshat is when you roichetz to cover Shabbos. Another shower. I mean, if a person's somehow that's how he does cover Shabbos. He does 2 hours before and then an hour before. So that could be goes and that's karogel. But Stam, because he's already he's getting nervous that he's not going to be able to take showers next week, so he's cashing in. That's L'Kavod Shabbos, you're allowed to. And the Bach says, Fakerda, it's an oven, somebody who doesn't do it.
Only someone who doesn't do what he's relevant to do, because that means he's not going to It's only oven if he doesn't do what he usually does.
Let me check the Loshen. If let's say somebody. Yeah, what do you mean? Right. Well, if somebody doesn't take a shower today, is oven yesh biyad. If you're saying if somebody doesn't take a shower every Erev Shabbos, then maybe it's not nichlal.
He doesn't do a shower. What if a guy doesn't take a shower? Then he's not doing Avelis. So it's only oven if he's doing Avelis for no reason.
What about if he normally takes his Erev Shabbos shower on Thursday?
1 second.
what if I don't make a salad till Tuesday night?
The issue now is their dealers.
Ubefrat, you taka right, your mama's right. That's why I wanted to look up the Loshen. The words right before. Befrat harogel lirchitz b'chol erev Shabbos kashe'ef shaloi v'nimna'at oven yesh b'yadai. So in the Chanami taka, it's not if a person doesn't ever take erev Shabbos, so then it wouldn't be nichla on the oven yesh b'yadai of this nekuda of not doing b'shem avelis.
What that means is that anything that he does in erev Shabbos, which means if he sits in a jacuzzi or he does 2 showers. If he doesn't do that, then he's not Gavelis. Then he has oven yesh.
So if it goes in out Kavod Shabbos, if a person takes 2 showers Erev Shabbos for Kavod Shabbos, l'chayr it should be nichel that it's mutter. I overheard somebody mentioning before about taking Thursday, so we'll hopefully speak about it next week, because next week taking Friday afternoon is already Erev Tisha B'Av after Chatzos. So there's a nidin in the poskim to discuss about maybe doing in the morning and technically take in the morning. So take in the morning, but some say no, that's not Kavod Shabbos. So Kolshkin doing Thursday is, I think, complete lax.
That's normally, let's say he works a night shift Thursday night. If he works 24 hours straight, then for him
so it could be then he's a oinus. But if somebody, technically, even if he does it normally, he should really change his norm and he should start doing Erev Shabbos after Chatzos. Again, if a person's a oinus, he can, so he does it earlier, which l'chayr should be somewhat Kavod Shabbos if he's cleaning himself for Shabbos, and then this week also. So we have over here the Shitas Abach. The Bach says that a person can be roichet Erev Shabbos this week after Chatzos, a regular shower. Me'idach the Prima Godim, which brings taka, what the Bach brings the Chachmei begin, so that we're noig natu. And he says, Makol Mokum le reisi linoig heter lirchitz kol gufay b'chamen, not to take a full shower Whether if he means, he says kol gufa b'chamen, it shouldn't be his whole body, it shouldn't be boiling hot, not the same amount of soap, but don't take a regular shower. K'shachal Rosh Chodesh b'erev Shabbos. In other words, he's speaking about this Friday, the first day of the 9 days, Rosh Chodesh Av, don't take a regular shower. So we have a machlokes, the Bach and the Pri Megadim. Pri Megadim Mishpat Zezov says not. The Bach says that you could take a shower, and we saw the Mishnah Berurah says you take the shower. If somebody's noig to take, you take this Friday as well. Just to bring in Lamaisa, since it's a machlokes a poskim, the Bach and the Pri Megadim. So the poskes manenu still are questionable about taking a full shower. Rav Vosner in a tshuva in Chelik Zayin Simonai and Zayin, his lashon is the Yesh Lashanas Ma'at Meher Geloi. Rav Vosner says take a shower today, this afternoon, but be mashana a little bit. Be'idoch Rav Shlomo Zalman and Alicha Shlomo here in Bein HaMatzarim says you can take a regular shower, soap, everything. So we have machlokes poskes manenu, whatever your minig is, but one should know, even if a person's taking a full regular shower, to know at least that we started the 9 days, and these sheet is not to, just to know the idea shabai of the din. So far we covered Barsa V'Yayin. We said it starts today, even though it's Rosh Chodesh. We now covered Rechitza Legabe today, even though it's Erev, despite that, since it's not Erev Shabbos Chazoin, it's a lot more kal to take a shower, and Pashas Yikud, the Bach, the Mishnah Berurah Midach, some say maybe to be mamayit in the shower. What's about cutting nails today? Cutting one's nails.
Those that have the Leviticus Chodesh.
Oh. So the first thing to point out clearly, the Isser of cutting nails in the 9 days is not in all of the 9 days, it's only Shavuot Shechalbai. And even that is a machlokes, the Taz and the Magen Avram. The Taz says in Shavuot Shechalbai one should not cut their nails, as opposed to, and the Magen Avram says that Shavuot Shechalbai you could cut. The machlokes. When it's not Shavuot Shechalbai, every single Erev Shabbos Chazoin, besides maybe next week we'll see if it is Shavuot Shechalbai, but on a regular Erev Shabbos Chazoin it's not Shavuot Shechalbai, and you can cut your nails. However, this year, this Erev Shabbos, which is not Erev Shabbos Chazoin, but this Erev Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh, the Mishnah Berurah brings that there are those that are noyig not to cut nails on Rosh Chodesh, Al Tzavois Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. And the Mishnah Berurah brings in Hilchas Shabbos, even on Erev Shabbos also, which means this Erev Shabbos, or throughout the year when these Erev Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh falls on Erev Shabbos, one should refrain not to cut the nails on Erev Shabbos, al tzavos Yehuda Chassid, when Erev Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh. So, the way it seems that it's not brought in Sefer Chassidim, the Sefer of Tzavos Yehuda Chassid, but it's said that was Tzavos Yehuda Chassid, and therefore there's a big nidun in the later poskim b'chlal about cutting one's nails on Erev Shabbos when it's Rosh Chodesh. L'maisa it's Kavod Shabbos, me'idach it's Rosh Chodesh. In Tehillah L'Dav it says that you could, not on every Rosh Chodesh, but Rosh Chodesh that falls on Erev Shabbos. He says, Shoyme mitzvah l'yeh d'davar ra. The Chidah in Yosef Oimitz brings B'Shem Kama Chachmei Svar that weren't Nizer, they used to cut. However, Lamaisi says that you shouldn't, and others bring Lakuta Marich says Lamaisi it's a sakana, so how could you be mater? So Mamela is like this: Lagabe cutting today, it's Erev Lamaisi it's Rosh Chodesh. The Shaila is about being noyig or b'tzavos of Yehuda Chassid. However, I know the shear is already, it's today, but you could, if you're not going to cut today, you could have cut yesterday, Thursday. Again, I'm sorry, the shear is today, it's too late already. You'll remember for a different time. Or it's negay really every time Rosh Chodesh falls out on Friday. Even though the Mishnah Berurah says in Hilchas Shabbos that one should not cut his nails on Thursday because it starts growing back the third day, which is Shabbos. But Chahai Gavna Hadashar Chuvas brings that it's also negay Yom Tov. If let's say you have 2 days Yom Tov, Friday and Shabbos, so you could cut your nails Thursday because Lamaisi you're doing a Kavod Shabbos. So here also Kavod Yom Tov, Kavod Shabbos. Here also, if you can't cut Friday, you can cut Thursday.
Why is it It's the kind of cut your nails. I'm not sure. Where does that come from?
Tzavas Yehuda Chassid. He said different things, not to close up a door. There's a lot of dinim.
What about next Erev Shabbos?
So really, hopefully we're going to get to it as well. It really depends if it's Shavua Shechalbai. And in Shavua Shechalbai is a machlokes. So it could be Mekel because it's Erev Shabbos, but next week already, only next week because it's Erev Tisha B'Av, the question is if it's called Shavua Shechalbai. Shavua Shechalbai, the Taz says not to cut Shavua Shechalbai. It could be these Tzad Lahata because Lamais it's Erev Shabbos, let's cover Shabbos. What's about Toyamel? We began about the Isser Basar V'Yayin starting already today. So Toyamel, even though the Magen Avraham brings Toyamel and Siman Reish Nun, it's a mitzvah litoy mekol tafshol Toyamel Chaim Zachu. L'maisa, it's aser to eat Toyamel today, fleishiks. Obviously, you could eat from the kugel the things that are not fleishiks. And as the Mishnah Berurah says, even if the kugel was made in a fleishig, a dish, and it was a ben yoimoy, you still could eat it. But something that's fleishiks, you can't eat. It has meat inside. If there's meat in the kugel, chicken soup, a tafshel shel basar, that's aser even Erev Shabbos. But what's about tasting the machalim, tasting it, just to taste it? Tayamel, you could sit down with a half a bowl of cholent, but what's about just tasting it to be toyim to see if it's good? So these are machlokes. Reb Vosner in Kovetz and Beis HaLevi, they bring their Reb Vosner held that a person's allowed to be.
You were talking about that, taste it because you want it, toast it to make sure it's good. Okay. Make sure it's good.
Taste it to make sure it's good. Thank you, Moshe, for pointing out. To have general toyamel, which means to sit down, to have a piece of kugel and a piece of kishka and cholent, the toyamel that we know, what we refer to toyamel, which the Magen Avraham says toyamel chaim zachu, that's aser. But what's about, you want to taste, you want to make sure that the cholent is not to this, to that, does it need more salt, does it need the taste, you want to taste it. So even on a tainus, we know these halacha, you could take it into your mouth and you spit it out. Rav Vosner says that for this, Tayamel is mutter, it's even mutter to swallow, to eat a little bit, gefiat soirach.
Yeah, you could taste the beans in the product, so you don't eat a piece of meat.
Gefiat soirach. So you're right. If you could taste the cholent by having a piece of barley, you don't have to actually have the meat. So gefiat soirach. Gefiat soirach doesn't mean that you could have a few spoons of cholent. Gefiat soirach means what is needed to taste a little bit and to swallow. Im yesh soirach b'ti'imis tafshilei abasal et soirach abishal muter lita ma'at gefiat soirach. Me'idach, the Hisoris Tshuva, which was an einikel of the Chassam Sofer, the Hisoris Tshuva says, he was asked about in general having Tayamel. The Hisoris Tshuva says, it's in Arachaim, Siman Shin Mem Beis, and he says that it's aser even to taste, to swallow a little bit. You just have to have, you're only allowed to put into your mouth to taste and spit it out. So the Issa Basar V'Yayin we mentioned starts already today. Yartzat of Aaron HaKoyin. Rechitza, we saw, is somewhat of a question today. Atu, a different B'chlal, the 9 days is Issa Rechitza. And then we saw cutting the nails, mitzad, it being not in the Shavua Shechal by its mutter. However, it's questionable since it's Savos Yehuda Chassid. Then we see Tayamel, to eat Tayamel, to have a full portion is asa. To taste a little bit, just to make sure the food is good, is a machlokes.
Once it's Shabbos.
Have a wonderful Shabbos and a good Chodesh.
Once it's Shabbos.